Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Legion Alpha video. Today I'm going to be giving you an overview of what they've done to Subtlety rogues. Sub-rogues have been on the alpha, I have done a video on them, but they've gutted what they used to be and they've replaced it. The problem with the old Subtlety rogue spec is that while it had some nice ideas, it ran into the issue, essentially, of playing itself, which you never want to do, so that was a bit unfortunate. They have now changed that. They've changed the Shadow Dance mechanic and a few other things, such that it is a far more involved and engaging spec that is significantly more fun to play, albeit at a, well, quite a higher skill cap. I really am being healed a lot by this person. It's a little bit unfortunate because it interrupts the video, but anyway, let's get on to what they've actually done. So, Shadow Strike used to be a passive in the Legion Alpha, which would allow you to use your stealth required abilities for a few seconds. It's now an active 1 minute cooldown, and it's got 3 charges. It lets you use all stealth abilities and grants the combat effects of being in stealth for 3 seconds. That would just impact some of your talents, like Master of Subtlety, which causes your attacks while stealthed, or 6 seconds after breaking stealth to do extra damage. But anyway, it does all that for 3 seconds, and the stealth effect is not broken from taking damage or attacking enemies. Now, there are some things that are the same. Nightblade, it's the same, though it does an appropriate amount of damage instead of doing less damage. Basically, it's a dot that causes your attacks to slow the target. And then there's also Eviscerate, which does a big shed load of damage. And for completeness, there is Kidney Shot, which will stun the target for up to 6 seconds. Now, the abilities that require stealth are Shadow Strike, which does 86,900 physical damage baseline and gives you 1 combo point. And then there's also Symbols of Death. This will increase all damage done by you by 20% for 20 seconds. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, hang on, this looks like a new thing to manage, and you would be correct. Basically, the skill of playing this it's basically all involved with Symbols of Death and the usage of your charges of Shadow Dance. As an example, if it's Heroism, you want to make sure you get all your Shadow Dances that you have available crunched into that Heroism, because you're going to be doing so much damn damage from Shadow Strikes, which are significantly better than backstabs. Basically, it's got almost triple the base damage and doesn't have a facing requirement. Backstab does 32,000 physical damage, but that damage is increased 30% when you're behind the target, so if you want to be using Shadow Strike, it really is quite good. To give you an example of how this plays, I first enter stealth, I then use Symbols of Death, which gives me that buff. I then Shadow Strike the target. We move in, we give him a few backstabs. We then apply the Nightblade debuff. We then Shadow Dance and do 3 Shadow Strikes into an Eviscerate, and then we just start backstabbing the target. We actually now can Eviscerate again, which is pretty nice. We've just ran out of our Symbols of Death, so we're going to Shadow Dance again, Symbols of Death, into 2 Shadow Strikes, and then that means we can... let's just refresh Nightblade. I'm playing this a little bit slowly, so it's it's possible to follow for you, I suppose. And we could then, Shadow Dance again, do 3 Shadow Strikes. There you go, which did a whole bunch of damage. And, we could Eviscerate again. Oh no, I've ran out of Symbols of Death and I don't have any charges of Shadow Dance. That's fine. I can always vanish, do a Symbols of Death, and then continue along my merry way. I've been playing that a little bit slowly there, but I figure it's better to slowly talk through the rotation, so it's actually something you can read. Because it's kind of hard playing a rotation at full spec, or full speed, and then watching that and deciphering what happens. I often find that when I try to watch video guides that people do, it's like, yeah, slow down a second so I can get a hang of what you're saying. But basically, here's your priority. Maintain uptime on Symbols of Death. You do that by using Shadow Dance every time you need to refresh Symbols of Death. There may be edge cases where you want to Shadow Dance repeatedly to make use of a period of time where you're getting additional damage. Maybe in Legion we'll have an insane trinket, which might have a proc, which is super powerful, that you want to exploit with chained Shadow Dances, or maybe it's just via Heroism on the pull. But anyway, you want to, as your default setup anyway, maintain uptime of Symbols of Death, maintain Finality Nightblade on your target, and then just burn any additional combo points on your Eviscerate. Just a quick little thing to add on to the end of my analysis, forgot to cover this in the main video. There is a pretty cool talent, Premeditation, Cheap Shot, and Shadow Strike generate 1 additional combo point. Why is that cool? Well, it actually just means that the gameplay is significantly faster. So if I run in here, we do that, And that's actually got me right up to 4 combo points really quite quickly. If I then do Shadow Dance, look carefully at my combo points. 3 of those, boom, so much damn combo points. And of course that in combination with anticipation means that you aren't, you're not losing throughput there, and you get very cool usage. So just to show you that again, I'll burn off all my combo points. We do, I keep on generating them from my auto attacks, so we'll burn them all off, instantly Shadow Dance, and do 3 Shadow Strikes. I'll show you what that looks like. Shadow Dance, Shadow Strike, Shadow Strike, Shadow Strike. There you go, 3 of them, pretty much maxed out in the duration of 1 Shadow Dance with the premeditation talent. That makes this feel quite a bit more fun to play from my perspective, though the increased speed might not be to the to everybody's fancy, especially since there are a few different things to maintain, and it's going to be harder to maintain everything if the spec as a whole is playing a little bit faster. That said, I'm not saying that I think that's great because I'm no skill player ever. I just think it's more fun because there's more pretty buttons lighting up. Anyway, that's just that quick little update. I think this is significantly better than what they had previously for a whole bunch of different reasons. There's lots of decision making going on, so you have to think about it when you go into a fight. Do I pull up the resource, essentially, of a Shadow Dance and use that tactically throughout the fight to maximize my overall damage and ensure that I've got, maybe cooldowns lining up, that I've got my usage of my Shadow Dance resource lining up with, key part of a fight, whatever. That's decision making that I like. You've got to maintain your symbols of death, which I like. You've got to maintain your Nightblade on a target. What overall I find is that you are able to maintain near enough 100% of symbols of death. You're able to maintain Nightblade on the target, and then, in between all that, you're getting in 1 or 2 eviscerates, and it actually does fall into a really quite a nice flow. Let's just quickly head into the spellbook here. There is one thing that's important that I need to show you, and that is Deepening Shadows. Your finishing moves have a 5% chance per combo point, i.e. a 25% chance to grant an additional charge of Shadow Dance. Now, because of this, and because you always want to have Shadow Dance recharging, you never want to be on 3 stacks of Shadow Dance, because right now, a 4th one isn't charging. So, the potential of one charging, like it is right now, is completely wasted. That's common sense with World of Warcraft, but, the same thing applies. I just think this is a deeper and more involved spec that is significantly better than what they showcased at the forefront. So absolute props to Blizzard. What they said in their forum post is, so we thought this whole Shadow Dance, well, quite literally you dancing in and out of it quite periodic, or quite frequently. They thought it was a cool idea, but they didn't nail the gameplay. So what they've done is they've made it active, they made it something you've got to play around with, and I really enjoy it. This might be the same or very similar to Subtlety at the minute. Honestly, I've got no idea. I haven't played Subtlety on live, so this is more just to fill in everybody who saw my previous video and thought, well, shit, Subtlety's a bit buggered, isn't it? Some people were concerned about that. This is to show you this is actually what Blizzard are rolling with now, and it seems like this is a more complete design that's more fleshed out, that's perhaps indicative of what they're actually going to ship in Legion. So that's pretty much it for me. Everything else, by the way, is as it stands. Shadow Blades means that your combo point generating abilities will generate more combo points when used. The talents, they're pretty much all the same, really. Very similar. Things like Shadow Step still exist. Of course, Nightblade, it's got the cool thing that, you can teleport to your target when you use it, which I love. It's kind of like having Cloak and Dagger baked in. Crimson Vial's different. Instead of being instant, it actually heals you over 6 seconds, which is, actually, it's weaker, but, I mean, it was very powerful. We've got everything else, though, pretty much as it was. We've got the really cool new Shuriken Storm, which is pretty much the same as Fan of Knives, but it just has that pretty cool spell effect. Things like Mark for Death, that's a talent. Death from Above is still there. Relentless Strikes is as it was. You've still got Anticipation, Deeper Stratagem, Vigor, Cheat Death, Elusiveness, Soothing Shadows. Like, these are pretty much the same, bar some minor tweaks here and there. So overall, this is far more fun. It's the spec's in a better place. I'm happy to see they've taken feedback on board. And overall, yeah, some pretty good stuff. That's it for me, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you next time.